Hello, adventurer, and welcome back to another episode of Game On. I'm Tyson Fairley, and I'm happy to welcome you to our first video all about deck building. Anyone who has helped one of their family build a deck will laugh at this joke, or they won't. Story of my life. Today I wanted to make a small video about the introductory steps of deck building, whether that be for Magic or Yu-Gi-Oh! Or really any other deck building game. It's just that those are the two that I have the most experience in. I've been deck building for both for about 2 years now. I by no means think I'm an expert on the subject, but I do think that there's some fundamentals that I can teach you that are important for everyone to have a grasp on when they're trying to build their first deck. The first key thing you should keep in mind is what kind of deck you want to build. Do you want to build an aggro deck? Do you want to build a swarm deck? Do you want to build a slow build deck? Whatever kind of deck you want to build will dictate what kind of components and of course colors various archetypes are going to need. So do some research before you're getting your start. Today I'm mostly going to be using Dimir Rogues as a reference, but also Synchro Summoning and Pendulum Summoning from Yu-Gi-Oh! Just because those are the ones I'm more familiar with for deck building. After you've done your research, you want to know the corresponding colors and archetypes. You want to be able to make sure these operate together well, so that way you're not adding in anything unnecessary. For Dimir Rogues, this means focusing on blue and black cards as opposed to any of the other colors. And for Yu-Gi-Oh! This means focusing more on the archetypes and the number of stars that are attributed at the top of every card. You want to make sure that the card archetypes for Yu-Gi-Oh! Especially are all the same, or at the very least similar, because those archetypes operate the best together. It doesn't work as well with Magic, where you can kind of take a little bit of here, a little bit there. Yu-Gi-Oh! Is much more strict about the archetypes that they have operating well together. Next up is card abilities. You don't want to have multiple different kinds of card abilities over the course of your entire deck, or else it's going to become too confused and ultimately just cumbersome. You want to take all of the cards that you have in your deck and operate around one system. That way you can start setting up combos and builds much more easier, as opposed to needing one card at a specific time to chain something else, which will chain something else, which will change something else, because then nothing will happen. In Magic terms, this could mean something like the Surveil mechanic for the Dimir Rogues. Make sure you're having a lot of other cards that have the Surveil mechanic if that's the focus you want to make. If you don't like Surveil, don't add it. There's a lot of different other archetypes for Dimir Rogues that you could also lean into. Just make sure that you only have one type of card system built into the deck, or else it's going to get too muddled. For Yu-Gi-Oh! This is more straightforward. There's much more defined terms on what each kind of deck can do. For example, Pendulum Summoning decks. You don't want to have a bunch of just big single cast monsters you set onto the field. I just said cast when I was talking about Yu-Gi-Oh! I'm sorry, Yu-Gi-Oh! Fans. Make sure that your deck is not trying to accomplish too much, especially for Yu-Gi-Oh! Otherwise, nothing's going to happen when you try to trigger your deck abilities. Next up is combo starters. I want to say about a third of your deck should be just dedicated strictly to combo starters. These are cards that are going to be able to chain off of one another and make sure that the big aspects of your deck are going to start showing themselves much easier. In the case of Dimir Rogues, if you want a mill Dimir Rogue deck, you're definitely going to want to look into Ruin Crab, into Soaring Thought Thief, all of these other basic rogue characters that can be summoned to the field that require very little mana to actually get out there. Otherwise, you're going to find yourself mana blocked with too many big heavy hitters, and then it isn't going to matter anyway. In Magic, this can also mean artifacts. It also could mean dual lands. Having access to both of these things that can give you more mana right off the hop, great benefits. When it comes to Yu-Gi-Oh!, the combo starters can actually be a little bit easier here, because you don't have to worry about things like mana or extra cost. The things that you have to worry about for Yu-Gi-Oh! Is having the appropriate amount of actual combo pieces that you can set up on your deck to then chain into huge combos. For example, for Pendulum Summoning decks for Yu-Gi-Oh!, you're going to want a lot of Harmonizing Magician and Wisdom Eye Magician to help start chaining combos together, so that way you're both able to knock out your opponent's cards and also be able to build into bigger, stronger monsters on your side of the field. Make sure you also keep in mind Link monsters, Synchro monsters, Fusion monsters, and XYZ monsters, just so you have an idea of how you're going to get from point A to point B. Those monsters are the ones you want on your field as quickly as possible, so how are you going to get there? Take it a step at a time, look at which monsters in your main deck you can use to be able to build to those, and then execute. Go. Now that you have the combo starters, you also want to make sure you have the combo finishers. What are the big monsters you're going to be having on your side of the field? What are they going to do? How are you going to get there? As per the combo starters. For combo finishers, you want to make sure that they are going to deal immense amount of damage, have great removal, or otherwise able to swarm the board, so that way your opponent, it doesn't matter how many creatures they have, you're just going to be able to dominate the entire battle. Last thing, play test it. Play a few rounds by yourself. When you're play testing by yourself, you should be hitting into your combo in one way or another within at the very least round 3 or 4. Anything beyond that, the deck's not working. It doesn't necessarily have to be that you're having your deck finisher by 3 or 4, but you should be getting started by at latest round 3 or 4. Otherwise, your opponent's going to be able to overtake you like that. So make sure that at the very least that you can see the pattern, where it's going, what exactly the combo is, and you're able to get from A to B relatively quickly. If the deck is working, then boom, you've got a brand new deck. If not, which is more than likely what's going to be the case, then you'll have to go back, revise a little bit, figure out what the problem is. Do you have a lot of combo starters but not a lot of finishers? Do you have ineffective finishers or ineffective starters? Maybe you're getting more of one type of card when you really need another type. Maybe you're getting mana blocked. All of these things are important to consider in the revising stage. More than likely, you're going to be going to the revising stage no matter what level of deck builder you are, no matter what deck it is. You're going to be very lucky if you knock it out the first turn. But that's the whole point of the deck build. It's the enjoyment behind being able to compose something by yourself for yourself. Don't worry about what it's going to do at the end. If it's going to have a cool finish, that's great. That's really cool. But the enjoyment should come from the search, the research, investigating what cards are going to work well together. Otherwise, you might as well just look up a deck build online and just buy the cards. If that's the kind of game you like to play, then of course, go for it. But if you want to build something for your own, kind of see how it's built from the ground up, then I highly suggest you deck build. Well, that's it for today. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, make sure to like and subscribe. And as always, this is Tyson Fraley, and you know what to do. Game on, my friends.